everyone! So I hope everyone had a good weekend. So I hope you guys remember that last week we were learning about different parts of experiments. So today we're going to learn about another really important part, which is the different types of observations. But before we get started on the new stuff, can anyone tell me what an observation is? Yep.
Is it something you see?
Yeah. So observations are not only in the science world, they can be about anything that you see. And can anyone tell me why observations are important in science? Mm-hmm.
Because during experiments, scientists need to see all the changes and be able to explain what is happening.
Good. So observations are really important to scientists because they need to be aware of everything that's happening in an experiment so that they can create good conclusions that answer their hypothesis. So now onto the new stuff. There are two types of observations, qualitative observations and quantitative. So the first type is qualitative. Can anyone tell me what qualitative means? No one? All right. Well, qualitative has the beginning of the word quality in it. So qualitative observations have to do with the quality of an object, and these can be made using all of your human senses, including sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. So, for example, you can look at this table and can observe that this table is smooth, and you know that it's smooth because you touch it. So, now, looking at this diagram here, can anyone give me a qualitative observation about it? Mm-hmm.
The square is pink.
Very good. So, the color of the square is something that you only know because you can see it. So, the second type of observations are quantitative observations. Does anyone know what quantitative means? Mm-hmm.
Well, it reminds me of the word quantity, so does it have to do with numbers?
Yeah, so quantitative observations are observations that usually use tools that involve counting or calculations or numbers or anything like that. So, looking back at this diagram, can anyone give a quantitative observation about it? Mm-hmm.
The length of one side of the square is 2.
Yeah. So the only way you'd be able to know that is if you had a tool, such as a ruler, that could measure this, or if it was given to you already, such as it was in this diagram. And so for quantitative, they have to involve numbers. So now I'm going to do a little bit of an exercise, and what I want is I'm going to name a type of observation, and I want you guys to tell me whether it's quantitative or qualitative. But raise your hand and don't shout out so everyone has a chance to think about it. So for the first one is the number of marbles in a bag. Mm-hmm.
Quantitative because it's a measurement.
Good. You have to count all the marbles in a bag. You can't just look at it and make a conclusion about it. So the second one is the smell of coffee. Mm-hmm.
Qualitative because you need to use a human sense to observe it.
Yeah, you would only be able to know what the coffee smells like by using your nose. There's not a tool you can use to measure that. So the third one is a little bit tricky. The temperature of a teapot. Mm-hmm.
Quantitative because you use a tool.
Good. Well, actually, there's quantitative and qualitative ways to describe the temperature of a teapot. You can do a quantitative observation by using a tool such as a thermometer to get the exact temperature. But you can also use a qualitative observation by just using your fingers and touching it and seeing if it's warm to the touch, cold, and both of them describe the heat of the teapot, but in different ways. So do you guys understand the difference between them? So now, to help you remember what we learned today, I came up with a little song. And for most of it, it's just repeat after me, but for one part, I'm going to point to these two words and you're going to say these two words instead. Alright, you guys got it? Ready?
Yep.
Okay, so it goes, observations.
Observations.
What are they?
What are they?
There are two different types.
There are two different types.
Qualitative,
quantitative,
qualitative.
qualitative.
What you see,
What you see
using human senses.
using human senses.
Quality,
Quality,
quantitative.
quantitative.
Measurements,
Measurements
using tools and numbers.
using tools and numbers.
Quantity,
quantity.
Alright, guys, that was so good. So I hope you will remember what we learned today, and I'll see you guys next week.